Hello, Renee. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic, Magic.
You're back
How
from
are
Puerto
you?
Rico, and you said that Puerto Rico is really nice, and I need to visit it one day.
Puerto Rico, for those listening who do not know, I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, which is this little island. It's 100 by 35, and it has a little bit over 4 million people, of which 3.5 live in the metro area. So everybody's squished into a tiny little space. And I still have family there, and I was there last week. And yeah, it's beautiful. I wasn't there for vacation. I have an aging family member that I am now taking care of, and so I didn't get to go to the beach or do any of the fun things. But and it was hot and it was sticky, but it was still beautiful. It's it's just beautiful. So I was telling Magic that he needs to go vacation there, and for anyone listening, if you need to consider a vacation destination, that would be a great vacation destination. It's only a 3-hour flight from Miami or New York. You get there in a short flight.
Okay, it's a little bit longer from Poland, but I'm thinking about it next year because this year I
You
think I'm done vacationing.
excellent. But you were also on a short vacation last week, weren't you not?
Yes, it was a bit of a last minute spear of the moment type of a thing because we dropped our daughters to the seaside to leave them under the supervision of my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and then we decided with my wife whether we want to go back
Mhm.
home or maybe go somewhere, and then we decided we just checked for the most affordable flight from Gdańsk,
Uh-huh.
which was the nearest airport. And the most affordable flight was Bergen in Norway,
Ooh.
which is not the most affordable country, unfortunately. So the flight was pretty good on the pricing side. And the hotel, I think I found a good hotel as well. But everything else, like food and drinks and everything else, is it's rather on the high side. But we had a fantastic week hiking, and I posted some pictures on LinkedIn, and
Mhm. Mhm.
um, the weather was not perfect because it was a bit raining.
Mhm.
But honestly saying, it's not a problem for us. Typically, we have our kind of waterproof clothing, and then we spend time together with Małgosia. That was perfect for now.
Well, I'm excited that you got to go to such a beautiful place. I'm a big fan of Vikings, which is a Netflix series that has like 7 seasons, and you had one of the pictures that looks out like into the bay. You were up at the top of a mountain, and it looks out into the ocean and the bay. And it reminded me of Kattegat, which is the town. It's the key town or the primary town in the series, and it goes through the history of how the town grows and evolves, and it gets commerce, and it was a small fishing town. And anyway, it was beautiful. So your trip reminded me of the series. So yeah, well,
It's
excellent,
yeah.
excellent.
So today we've prepared a bit of a conversation that will focus on the mental health.
Hmm.
Where's one of the slides?
It's
On
one
the
of my.
mental health after the notification meeting, which I think it's a very important moment because this
Mhm.
notification meeting, it's a very difficult moment, right?
Yeah, and I know that throughout the series we've been focusing. For those who haven't been listening to every episode, I don't expect that you listen to all of them, but this is really focused on generally when you get notified by your company that you've been laid off for one reason or another. But as I was putting some of this together, and as Magic and I were discussing some of the points, we were really thinking about these different points after a notification conversation, even if you're doing the notifying to your company that you are no longer, wanting to be employed or affiliated with the company. So I would say that, do understand that this is more directed to, and our experience is when we were notified. But if you choose to notify an employer that you no longer want to be with the organization, you might still go through some of these same emotions in terms of the separation, and the mental health tips are applicable as well. So I would highly encourage you
I
to
still
listen.
believe, Renee, that, and I want to stress this for everyone.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter whether
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
chose to
yeah.
exit or you are asked to leave the organization. It doesn't.
Hmm.
It really doesn't matter.
Hmm.
Uh, when you will look back, it will be probably the same challenges, the same problems, the same opportunities that you will see, unless
Yeah.
you are leaving straightforward to a new job. Okay, you will probably go through a similar kind of a journey,
Hmm.
and it really doesn't matter in your further conversations, because people seeing at a gap in your resume, they
Hmm.
will assume that there is a, or seeing certain changes in your resume, they will assume that you were asked to leave even though you maybe chose to leave on your own. So in the conversations, I recommend people not to spend too much time on the reason for
Hmm.
the departure. It could be
Hmm.
your own choice, it could be the company choice. The fact is that it's going to be an emotional challenge for you as you're
Yeah.
going to be navigating this exit. So we wanted to give you some immediate mental health tips, when you finish the call, what happens. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to go through 6 tips, and we hope that you take away some good value from it. So let's start with tip number 1.
Okay.
All right. I love this tip. Is one of my favorite tips. It's my favorite tips for everything in terms of, if you're having an argument with a spouse or a best friend or any situation that is emotionally charged, right? Whether you use a technique of counting to 10 or you use one of the techniques that is here, right? But really pausing before reacting is so critical. Um, and it's important in every situation, but particularly in a situation where you're receiving very bad news. Um, I think it's a very valuable right step in the process. So step away from the computer, step away from the phone, because you don't want to rage text or rage email. Yeah. All right, Magic. The next one. Yeah.
The next slide, right?
No, no, no. The next tip. No, go back. Give the
The
bullet.
next tip.
Give
Okay.
yourself
uh,
permission. Yeah.
I want to stay with the
First
stay
one.
step
Okay.
away from the computer. I think it's extremely important moment, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
it really, like staying in front and kind of processing stuff, staring into your computer.
Yeah.
Especially right now, we have a lot of conversations through Teams with a camera on. Many times,
Yep.
there is a requirement to have a camera in such conversations. Just kind of step away, not only for rage, but also just to give yourself a little bit of a space,
Mm-hmm.
and just make sure that you are not making any rush moves, decisions, or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
Which is actually a perfect segue into number 2, right? Give yourself permission to not make any big decisions right now, right? Your brain is still in shock and you're still trying to process. Don't make a permanent decision on a temporary emotion. This too shall pass.
Hmm. Especially that typically in this moment there is no pressure for you to make any rush decisions. I
Mhm.
um, Even if if there are in if the meeting leads to some options, which in a European countries, it typically, because of the
Yeah.
legal settings, you typically have more than one option to choose from.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
um, it's good to just not make like sleep over it. You
Hmm.
typically have some time to process and decide, and really it's very important to just clear your mind, like whatever news you have received, whatever paperwork you have received via
Hmm.
email, you don't need to read it immediately. Okay, it's okay to just kind of basically step away from the computer.
Yeah. I have a couple of tips. I have a rule called the 24-hour rule. where I step away from an emotion and I give myself 24 hours, because honestly, a good night's sleep always gives me great perspective. And I find that it does for a lot of people. But the other thing I want to comment on this is I I have a life coach as well. I have multiple life coaches actually that I work with. And one of them, when I was going through a lot of anxiety, one of them would taught me this phrase or asked me the question, is it happening right now? Right. And it's something that I use often when I start, um, maybe futuring too much and being a little too fatalistic, or, talking myself in my brain and getting my anxiety level up. I step back and I think of his words and I ask myself, is it happening right now? Right. And that's another phrase that helps me a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I always say just sleep over it, right?
Mhm.
Try to go to sleep and wake up in the morning and then make those big calls, right? And read through things,
Mhm.
as you clear your mind and you had some time to process
Mhm.
subconsciously, I guess.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not an expert on this, but it worked for me many times in a situations like that.
Yeah, the last bullet is interesting, and this the last bullet could be a session all on its own. And I know Magic and I talk about this quite a bit. The news is about the position and not your worth. And we talk about it a lot because there's a lot of ramifications, and we've talked already multiple times around depending on who your boss is and how they handle it. Because some bosses can make it very personal and it can make it feel as if it's about your worth. So it's important for you to remember that that person's opinion of your value is not your value, and that the position is not your value, right?
Yes, and Renee, I'm happy that you mentioned this because this comes again to how your boss is going to manage the conversation. And many of the like many of the good bosses that will tell you,
Mhm.
it's they will just explicitly tell you uh, that it's not necessary, that has nothing to do with yourself. It's most of the cases, like in most recent announcements from companies, laying off thousands of people is
Mhm.
definitely not individual performance based. Okay,
Mhm.
so if your boss didn't tell you that it's you should probably remember it is probably because they are basically making decisions at a much higher level about certain positions or certain
Mhm.
teams or certain geographies. I've
Mhm.
seen in my kind of a so many years corporate career, decisions about locations. Okay,
Yeah.
we are going
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
out of this location.
Mhm.
Nothing to do with your performance. I've seen
Mhm.
decisions about job levels. We want to have less managers, right? We
Mhm.
want to have more flat organization, and there were decisions like that.
Yeah.
It was about organizations. I remember once or twice I've actually been laid off at HPE because
Mhm.
they just canceled the entire organization. They decided that this organization will no longer be there.
Mhm.
And very quickly, I was able to get another job in another organization somewhere
Mhm.
else. But at this moment, when this, kind of a thing happened, the whole organization was just basically
Gone.
canceled and nothing to do with my performance. Yeah.
Mhm.
My
Yeah.
performance didn't change from one. I spoke recently to a friend of mine who left the company, and he said, like, you know what, like a couple of weeks later, I have received like a recognition for a fantastic year and for the best, being the best
Yeah.
in class and best in the team and everything. And then I'm being let go.
Mhm.
And why? And I said, well, but it's not about you. It's probably
Correct.
a completely different dimension. Somebody has
Yeah.
a different spreadsheet for it, not your performance spreadsheet, for sure.
A different
Yeah.
spreadsheet. That's right. Well, and we talked a little bit about the KPIs, and
Yeah.
but anyway, different topic. But let's go to tip number 2.
Okay.
All right. So this is one of my favorite ones, actually. People take this for granted. What you do with your body, what you do with your actual physical self, is incredibly powerful to interrupt the emotional um, system from spiraling. And I love this one, and my favorite is the first. Well, there I like them all, but inhaling, I've actually gotten into a lot of understanding how breath and breath work, and how breath really helps you manage your emotions, manage pain levels, manage different things. I'm going to do a plug for my little breathing Buddha. He changes colors when certain seconds pass to help me visually guide through inhale and exhale. So that is very important. Remember to breathe.
It's interesting that you say that. When I was preparing with my youngest daughter
Hmm.
for the final exam from the primary school, she was extremely nervous,
Hmm.
and we were preparing. And I said, "Well, you need to start doing the squares." And she was like, "What kind of squares?" And I
Uh-huh.
said,
Uh-huh.
"When you are preparing your answers,
Hmm.
take a corner of your sheet, like when you give the answers, and whenever you feel really, really stressed, just draw for just draw a square, and every line is a breathe in, breathe out,
The
breathe
breath.
in, breathe
Hmm.
out, breathe
Hmm.
in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out."
Yeah. Yeah.
And when she was doing this preparation, I said, what we're gonna do is just to train this whole exercise, because she was kind of a skeptical about it. I said, if you, when you give me the answers, the spreadsheet with the answers, or the sheet with the answers, for every little square that I see, I'm gonna reward it with some kind of a candy or something.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
She's like, what do you mean? I said, I think it's that important that for me
Hmm.
it's equally important your answers, like
Hmm.
the answers to the exercise that you do preparing for the exam, as much as the little squares that you're gonna paint on the side. Okay, and
Hmm.
don't worry, like it doesn't matter that you're gonna kind of do some additional stuff on your answer sheet, because
Uh-huh.
nobody's gonna look at this, but it will help you to calm yourself down whenever you
Hmm.
feel stressed, and calm your mind and take your mind off the panic that I
Right.
cannot find the answer. So I do agree, totally agree. Inhale is super important, and kind of a drawing the little squares where every line is a breathe in, breathe out is going to help you a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, and in the US, for those in the US, we call that box breathing. It's an actual breathing style that they teach you in the
Oh,
wellness centers. So, yeah, I love it,
I
Magic.
didn't
I
know
love that
about
you're
it.
teaching your children this. I love that.
Breathing box. Okay, I didn't know
Yes, it's
about it.
called box breathing. All right, box
Okay,
box breathing. You put the box first, and then, but yes, yes, yes.
stand up and move.
Stand up and move.
Super
I know.
important.
I know you
I
like
think
this a lot. You're
I,
always moving.
I like moving. That's for sure. Walk, stretch, go outside, go for a walk. Um,
Hmm.
I, you know, my final conversation, when I that I had was cancelled in the
Hmm.
morning. It was supposed to be happening in the morning, and then it got cancelled. And
Hmm.
um, I didn't get the information when the actual conversation is going to be rescheduled for.
Hmm.
So then I pinged the HR, and I said, well, you know, how much time do I have? Do I need to
Hmm.
stay in front of my computer and wait for the rescheduling, or what's going to happen? They said, well, it's not going to happen for another couple of hours because we need to rework some of the paperwork. So I just
Hmm.
went for a walk.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
stood up from the computer and just ignored everything else and just went for a walk. And I
Hmm.
knew that the next conversation is going to happen in the afternoon. So that was extremely helpful. Yeah. And I would say do this, because walking, generally speaking, is very healthy. If you can go and walk in the mountains, it's even better for you.
Yeah, and this is not related to after my conversation, but when my mom was sick,
Oh,
um, I would go out with my dog for a walk once a day because it was like the only thing that would soothe me. And the body is releasing that cortisol accumulation because of that stress and that pain. Um, and so it's absolutely important. So yes, please stand up and move. The last one is super interesting. I'm not a big journaler, but but I thought this was interesting, right? And I didn't know about this, and I didn't do it, so it's something that, looking back, if I have a situation in the future, this is something I will do. Name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, and 3 things that you can hear. And I
Hmm.
love this one because it engages all of your senses and it pulls your mind out of this loop. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if you have an experience with
I
that one.
I have some kind of an experience like that because one of my stress relievers was playing the piano in the past.
Oh, that's right. You're a musician. For those that don't know this, Magic is a musician. Yes.
So
Mm.
I remember when I don't do this anymore, but back in the day, many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um, when I moved to Munich, and I was at the same time doing my MBA, finishing my MBA course in Warsaw, and then having a new job and a new location, new country, new everything. It has put a lot of pressure on me. And like every now and then, I bought a piano, and every now and then I would just sit down and
Hmm.
just play, because that helps you to take your
Yeah.
mind off everything that is going on, and then you can go
Mm-hmm.
back and because it engage your
Mm-hmm.
touch and your
Yeah.
hearing and
Uh-huh.
your eyes on
Visual. Yeah. Everything. Uh-huh.
different, right? So it's extremely useful. Also, doing some sports is similar to this, but sports that require focus on the sport itself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I like about rock climbing that I do is
Yeah.
you have to focus, because otherwise you fall. Very simple.
Very simple.
Whenever
Yes.
I'm stressed, I just go to
Yeah.
the gym, and it's not a kind of a body weightlifting. It's more of this kind of a my lifting myself, and you really need to focus on every step that you take, otherwise you fall.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's typically very good stress relief. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go for tip number 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm a big fan of energy work as well. And this is something I've been a fan of for many, many years. Since I was a little girl, I had a grandmother in Puerto Rico that really introduced me to energy work and taught me how to do this. Um, and the way you protect your emotional energy comes in different packages and in different ways and in different methodologies. Some people kind of try to isolate themselves from other people. But when it comes directly related to this topic, or I would say this again, to any news that is not great, right? Is you hold off. And even I remember I have this conversation with young moms or people, women that find out that they're pregnant early in their pregnancies. But this applies to when you get notified that your job is no longer there. Um, hold off on telling a lot of people because people have a lot of opinions and they have a lot of emotions themselves. And you really need to protect your emotions and figure out what your emotions are about this process instead of trying to absorb what everybody else is throwing your way. So I know Magic and I both did this in our events. We have a handful of people in our lives, particularly my husband, and in Magic's case, his wife. There are our best friends and our safe spaces, and places where they listen without judgment, and give us advice and all support. So that definitely, I think, is a really good piece of advice. What do you think, Magic?
I also think that it's a very practical tip, Renee, because
Hmm.
you also want to think through how you're going to position the message.
Hmm.
Um, there is a lot of grief, there is a lot of anger many times, and you don't want to go out and blaze on others with
Yeah.
your bad emotions. Okay,
Hmm.
so it's good to kind of think, how are you planning to position the message? What are you going to tell people?
Yeah.
And again, a lot of people focus on the bad news, the how it all happened, how they were trying not to, and what was happening just
Hmm.
before
Hmm.
the meeting itself. And I think what's gonna be super important is that all this stuff doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's not gonna matter. What's
That's
gonna
going to be
matter?
the tagline of the entire series. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, what matters is, where are you going to look for? And that's like this kind of a change curve that
Mhm, mhm.
we spoke about so many times.
Yeah.
A certain point in time has this kind of a looking to new solutions and going and adopting to a
Yeah.
new situation. So that will you need to start positioning your mind on this kind of a new direction. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to come immediately. I know it
Mhm.
will take time for many. Some people are faster, some people are slower
Yeah.
to cross the valley of death. But don't share the valley of death with everybody.
Yeah.
I think it's very good recommendation, Renee.
Yeah. I have a saying at little plaque in the tea shop that says, please be careful with the energy you bring into the space. Right. Yeah. Because you shouldn't just kind of bring all of your whatever energy into, other people's spaces. Okay. The second bullet, avoid
I
doom.
spoke to my wife, and then in the afternoon, I just jumped on the car and I went to my best friend's place, and
Yeah.
I called him. I said, like, well, this is the situation.
Yeah.
I need a drink. I need to sit down
Hmm.
and process. He lives outside of Warsaw, so we had
Hmm.
time to just sit down and chat.
Yeah.
And I could hold the information from, and I had to keep my mouth shut. It was
Hmm.
maybe a little bit easier for me, because I was specifically told not to tell anyone
Hmm.
before the company makes an announcement, so I had to be
Hmm.
quiet about it. But
Hmm.
obviously, my best friend, my wife, I was
Hmm.
I was allowed to talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do this. I would recommend for everyone. Kind
Yeah.
of find someone you can trust and share with them and process together. It's easier.
Yeah. Yes. Find your safe space. Okay. The next bullet, it's interesting. I didn't necess- I don't think that that's something that I could relate to. But anyhow, there are cases where there are mass layoffs where multiple peoples and whole departments get laid off. And so this is good advice, avoid the doom scrolling or reading about layoffs online for the rest of the day. It can deepen the feeling of anxiety and isolation. Yeah, and hopelessness of, oh my God, I'm never gonna find a job, right? So
No, it
yeah.
just extends the problem. I think, again, like, it's good to, I think, talking to other people about your challenge, maybe even talking to other people that have been impacted. It's a
Hmm.
good thing.
Hmm.
But just scrolling through their posts on LinkedIn, it's not going to
Hmm.
help you at all.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Reading in the press about it and just
Yeah.
feeling it's I don't think it's helpful right now.
Yeah. No, I think and it's important to explain to people the difference between finding community, which is maybe talking to a group of people or a support group at some point of people that, maybe a little bit wider than your immediate circle, right? Finding community that helps you kind of get through is very different than doom scrolling. And I think in today's social media environment, people confuse some of the online chat rooms or the online groups as community. And those are very different things. Just, make sure you keep that present. All right, let's go to tip number 4.
Hmm.
Ah, yes. Name and normalize the feelings. Yeah, this is definitely It's part of Magic already referred to the curve, right, of the process of grieving. Words matter, words are important. Um, and in order to move you outside of that denial space, it is important to name the feelings and name what's happening. But again, in these spaces of safety, right? Um,
It is important to name your feelings, because
mm,
sometimes it helps you to uncover them.
mhm,
You might kind of try to shield the weight from yourself and everybody else that you are pissed off.
mhm,
You
mhm.
are, and you have a
Yeah.
right to be. To
Yes.
be honest,
Yeah.
you have a right to be angry or sad
Mm,
or blame others.
mhm.
Again, I wouldn't go and blaze the guns of anger to
Yeah, no.
everybody.
No, no.
It's not what you should be doing. But
Yeah.
you should basically talk about it and admit to yourself in front of people that you feel safe with. Hey,
Yeah.
I felt I feel angry, I feel bad, I feel
Mhm,
sad, I feel
mhm.
lost, I feel betrayed. It's gonna help you. It's
Yeah.
gonna help you to throw it away and get rid of it when you speak with your family. That's why I think I keep on saying that having a good leg to stand on, which is the family, it's an extremely important benefit
Mhm.
in a difficult moment like that.
Yeah, and for those that haven't watched all of our episodes, I highly encourage you to do so. But I will also refer you to the last two episodes where Magic and I went through our timeline, and we were very intentional in the words that we used, right? So we said it out loud, we put it in the slide. That's an important process as you kind of go through the grieving process, and most people don't relate the loss of a job with grieving, but it is because it is the loss of routine, identity, community. I'm a big routines person. My routines are my key to success, and
Mhm.
when this occurred and I no longer had that routine that I could depend on, especially when I had come from another humongous loss of my mother and the routine of not just having her around, but taking care of her, having breakfast with her, right? It was it was devastating. And it was so important. I definitely found really I had a really good support system, but I went to find community with some. I went through a couple of coaching circles, is what they call them, where we were able to build community and talk through some of these feelings and really work through the entire process. So make sure that you don't isolate yourself. Some people may not have family. Magic and I are very blessed. We have really great families and friends around us. But some people don't. And, when you see these people further and further isolate, if you do see that, reach out and help and offer to help because isolation is devastating.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go to tip number 5.
Oh, I like this one.
Okay, I'm gonna let you kick this one off because I think you are so much better at this than I was when I look back at at the moment. So please.
No, there is a friend of mine who, when he got the news, he called me and he said, like, I'm out for the next 3 months. I
Good
was like,
job.
you kidding? I was like, no, I need to take time off. I just need to completely, I've been with the company for, like, I don't know, 30 years or something, and
Mhm.
I just need some break.
Yeah.
I I was, the moment I found out about the news, again, I'm blessed with the not only the fantastic wife, but also the wife that shares my love for the mountains. So
Mhm.
as soon as I could, without starting any rumors or creating any problems, I was on the flight to the mountains. We went.
Yeah.
We found the flight. We found the car, and then we drove, and then we spent a couple of days hiking and
Mhm.
looking at what I love and what I really appreciate, and that helped to kind of get a lot of bad feelings and the bad thoughts
Mhm.
out of my brain for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I was in a state of shock. I and my husband was working and I just kind of laid in bed and stared at the ceiling, again. My mom had died. I was at home with my daughter was at school, my husband was at work, and I was very much alone. So I did not um I did not take a transition break, certainly not at the moment. And honestly, even after separating from the company. I mean, right now this is time bound at the within the after right after the phone call. Um, I wish I would have taken that walk with the dog and things like that. So again, we all learn. This look back has been very, very, I think, healthy. But all right, let's go to the next one.
It wasn't easy for me. I mean, I'm not
Oh
trying to say
no.
like, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
easy. It's just I didn't care. I did care.
Hmm.
I did have a problem, okay,
Yeah, of
with
course.
this, especially with how the process was handled.
Hmm.
But I knew that I cannot stay at home and just stare at the. I mean, very quickly I came back. I came back and I was sitting in front of my computer and doing some
Hmm.
stuff. Okay, I had
Hmm.
to clean up. I had a gardening leave, so I had a lot of
Hmm.
time that to clean up after myself, my mailbox, my hard drive, whatever, delete
Hmm.
stuff, remove stuff, hand over stuff. Uh, but the first step was really, kind of take a little bit of a break, a couple of days, and
Hmm.
just remove myself from the very bad moment into
Yeah.
something that I really appreciated, and I still think about this trip as one of the best trips we've
Hmm.
taken, frankly saying. Yeah.
Hmm.
Next one, Renee.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Whew. I know we've talked about this quite a bit. And actually, we talked about it shortly after because our announcements were fairly, I think, only a week apart. Um, and anchoring in the present. Again, is it happening now? And honestly, what are the things that you still have? And Magic and I talk about this all the time, right? Because we were with the company for so long and we related so much to the company. But we were often reminding each other we still have our skills, we still have our relationships, we have our
Our YouTube channel.
resources, right? And so we kept our YouTube. Yeah, exactly. We still had so many things, our leadership skills, our experience, our ability to network and work in an industry that's quite diverse, and it's large but it's small, so it was really, really, really helpful.
Yes, and again, we spoke about it in one of the earlier episodes. It's
Hmm.
great that we kept on having those kind of an online conversations, Renee, and those
Hmm.
videos that we recorded and the series and everything are still out there. If you guys want to listen to the
Yeah.
leadership skills development, sharing our knowledge and
Hmm.
our experience. But
Hmm.
I mean, honestly saying, the moment you're no longer bound by the work that you need to do, the moment you handed over
Yeah.
your responsibilities, you can use your skills, relationship, resources, whatever you have. There's so many things that you can do,
Hmm.
uh, and typically, there are a lot of people that will be willing to help you. Believe me, I have received so much help from the network, so many hands stretched out and told me, hey, do this, try that.
Mhm,
Kind
mhm.
of a, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. Here's the
Yeah.
project, here's the idea. Not everything is money related,
Mhm,
but a lot of things that people gave me were, kind of a further developing my skills. I remember, when I left HPE, there was a moment that when the Chat GPT was introduced, and I had
mhm.
so much
Yeah.
time to sit down and learn about
Learn
it.
it. Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and just do
He was driving me
certification.
crazy every day with like, "Did you check this AI and that AI and that AI?" Because it wasn't just ChatGPT. I'm like,
I
give
took
me a break."
certification, I took
Yes.
trainings, and that
Yes.
helps me to get ahead on a lot of ideas.
Mhm.
It was a great investment moment, frankly
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because it led to a lot of great growth.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Again, I'm not a big journaler, but if you do happen to journal, some of the guiding questions: what happened? How do you feel right now? And why? What do I know? What I know is still true, right? You still have these great skills. You still have this great family. You still have this great network. You have this great opportunity to learn new skills that you can apply for the future. So, yeah.
How to prepare the CV later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and I think we
Maybe
have
write
our
a book later on if you want to.
yes. Yes. And this is our summary slide because we want you to maybe print it and put it somewhere like a little one pager, right? To give you some visual cues if you need reminders. And they apply to many situations. So we hope that we always try to give you a little something, a little skill that you can take away or a little tidbit tool. So we hope that you can use this one slide, but also that you've gotten some great value out of this exchange.
Thank you so much, Rana. It's good to go back and think
Yeah.
about those kind of things, because those difficult moments will come back to our lives.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure. But every time we go through an exercise like that, it makes us stronger and
Hmm.
more experienced and more ready for experiences like that. So I'm happy that we are kind of going through this again
Yeah.
and talking about it. It's a benefit for others, but frankly saying, a benefit for myself as well.
Yes, absolutely. Evaluated experience is where a lot of the learning occurs. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, and send us comments and questions. Thank you for all of those that have already done that. It really warms my heart when I read your direct messages on how much these are helping you and how you forward it to a friend, even if you're not going through this experience, or if you are going through the experience, how much it's helping you. So it really fuels us. Keep sending them, and we'll see you in a week.
Thank you so much, Renee. Bye.
Bye.